Alright, so we've got a ton of stuff to talk about here involving Dragon Ball Super's author Toyotaro, the future of the series, what he's doing, and this guy Toyotaro has done a lot of media, a lot of appearances in the last few days. There have been people, thankfully, from the Dragon Ball fandom that have covered it, and I'm going to give them all shout outs here in this video. Because they deserve it. They're the ones that actually went to the event and got this information. There was an event in France and one in Japan. And what I wanted to do is wait until this whole weekend was over with and then kind of compile everything that I think is necessary for this video for you. So make sure you watch the video all the way to the end so you don't miss anything, because I have a lot to discuss. But I'm not going to go over every single thing. Like, there's things that I don't find relevant, but that are still interesting that I'll tell you about that you can check out with the interviews. But again, links to all that will be provided. First, I want to just get to the beginning here. So Toyotaro, Nakatsuru, and Toriyama, the three of them together, recently appeared on a panel, and they discussed memories of Toriyama. They discussed like Toyotaro and the Dragon Ball Super manga, and there were some pretty interesting questions that were brought up to Toyotaro, and you know, and he answered them, including like confirming some things that many of us had suspected. So we're gonna kill all the fake rumors here on this video. You're gonna get all the real stuff here. So I want to start with this article written by db-z.com. They are a French website. The article's both in French and in English. It's a summary of the Q&A that they did. And I want to jump down to question 6 here, because this is something that people have debated on for a while. And I've talked about it a lot too. And that is Toriyama being credited as the writer of Dragon Ball Super, because he's credited as that in the Super manga chapters, even the ones that he wasn't even there to write. The real writer has always been Toyotaro, and Toriyama's been kind of the overseer, and he approves stuff. So Toyotaro said right here, the question is, Akira Toriyama's credited as the writer on Dragon Ball Super. Has his death changed how you approach the manga? So we're straight up talking about the future of the Super manga after the passing of Toriyama. Toyotaro says, we had two main working styles. I'd write the story and send it to Toriyama, and he'd give the okay or not. Or sometimes he'd write a story and send it to me. I'd check if I could adapt it, send back my version, and he'd approve it or not. So as you can see, a good portion of the story already came from me. That's why I think it's not impossible for me to continue the series, but it won't be easy either. So the first of all, he's saying that he's down to continue Dragon Ball Super. Like he's fine with doing it without Toriyama, but he talks about difficulties, which makes sense because Toriyama is the lore master. Any questions you may have about the universe or anything like that, Toriyama's the best person to ask, and he's no longer with us. But I've been talking about this for a long time. The Dragon Ball Super manga does not function like the original Dragon Ball manga. And this is why there have been some debates about canon, because a lot of the Super manga takes what Toriyama wrote in a manuscript for the anime, like all of the, the Goku Black arc, Tournament of Power, and then changes things or adds things. That's why the Goku Black arc was different in the manga, because Toyotaro made those changes and Toriyama approved them. But when you get to the post-anime stuff, like post-TOP, I was covering this as it was coming out. Moro was written primarily by Toyotaro, although Toriyama came up with the character of Moro, and Toriyama would approve it or disapprove of whatever Toyotaro was doing. So he would fix the art or he'd give him suggestions. The Granola arc, on the other hand, Toyotaro himself said Toriyama wrote that arc and Toyotaro filled it in. So Toriyama would write a very basic outline, you know, a little bit of backstory on the characters, what's going to happen, where the story goes, and then Toyotaro takes that and draws it and makes it all kind of pan out, you know. So the Dragon Ball Super manga is already completely different creatively than the OG Dragon Ball manga from 84 to 95, you know, from Pilaf to Buu. That was Toriyama with his editors approving it, but it was all from his mind. So, again, that's why these canon debates can get complicated, because Toriyama's not only a different man, but his position was different during Super. Now, there's more questions here that I think are really interesting. So, if you want to learn more about Nakatsuru and his part in Dragon Ball Daima and Z and GT and how he worked his way up, again, I'll leave links to this in the comment or in the description. I might even put a pinned comment. We'll see. Now, I want to go to this question because the question is, okay, what's next? Is Super going to continue or not? And this is a very big thing because, man, this question has come up for the past year since Toriyama passed away. They continue to say in V-Jump that Dragon Ball Super is on hiatus. They have not announced that it's over. They have not announced that it's continuing. They're just saying it's on a hiatus, which means that you would assume it would come back at some point. But there's no date. There's no date for its return. Nothing. So, of course, they're going to ask these guys, because why not? So the question is, the Dragon Ball franchise has evolved a lot. Some compare it to Star Wars with both good and bad. Well, I think Dragon Ball has kept its heart a lot more than Star Wars did since the Disney purchase. Star Wars has changed a lot. So how do you see its future as a franchise? Torishima immediately says, you're asking us? That's really a question for Shueisha or Toei Animation or whoever manages Toriyama's rights. So this is important because I saw some people blaming Toyotaro. I saw some folks calling him lazy. I saw some folks even saying, well, maybe he's still not over the passing of Toriyama. All that stuff is not being over the passing of Toriyama. That makes sense because he works so closely with him. Like, that makes sense, right? Dude's a legend. But this is not Toyotaro. This is Shueisha and Toei. They are the ones. They are the reason why you don't have more Dragon Ball Super, both anime and manga. They're the reason why we don't have movies. It's whatever they want. Now, I know what you're thinking, or some of you are thinking, what's going on with that behind-the-scenes legal issue? If you don't know what I'm talking about, I've done several videos about this, and I'll leave links to it, because I think I'm like the only one talking about this in this much detail. But what's happening is, Akio Ioku started a new company called Capsule Corp Tokyo, and he wants to take over the anime and video games, not the manga. He wants to take over the direction of these things. So basically, Shueisha would still be the boss. They're the tippy top. Because Toriyama's no longer around, they have the rights to the series. They are the ones that can dictate when the manga comes back and what direction they're gonna go in, and also Toei even has to get approval from them. But once everything gets lined up, then Toei can make whatever's next, movie or whatever, and Akio wants to be the one to kind of be the creative head moving forward, because he's talked about how they left him like 10 years of ideas. He's talked about how there's more coming, but this behind the scenes issue is still ongoing. Now, there's no update for you. Did something change in Japan? Possibly. They're not going to tell us until a credible Japanese source, a Japanese newspaper, reports on this. I'm not believing anything, okay? So as far as I know, this discussion about Capsule Corp Tokyo is still ongoing. Daima, I asked Herms to look in the credits for Daima, and Capsule Corp Tokyo is not listed there. So presumably, because Daima was obviously Dragon Ball Magic, they started working on that in 2022. This is before the Akio company was made. So presumably, Capsule Corp Tokyo's role will be in future projects. And I want Akio to get it. You should want Akio to get it, because if Akio gets it, that's going to mean more video games, more anime. You know, he's not going to pressure Bandai Namco. And the Bandai wants to make Dragon Ball games because they make them a lot of money and because people want more Dragon Ball games. We're never going to stop having Dragon Ball games. That's just going to, even if Super ended tomorrow and they said no more, we're never going to not have games. It's just something will come out, you know, a Tenkaichi sequel, something, right? But Akio wants to be the one to push that, and I trust him because he was actually closer to Toriyama than even Toyotaro. Because Akio was actually meeting up with the guy based on reports that we've gotten and having discussions, and so I actually would trust him. Now, there is more. We ain't done just yet. I basically, what I wanted to tell you is Shueisha and Toei are the ones that are the ones behind the lack of new Dragon Ball. Torishima says, originally Dragon Ball was a story Toriyama and I made together, but that's only one side of the coin. See, it's true that Torishima helped them a lot, but it's still Toriyama. Like, he's the one that put the pen on the paper. You know, but Torishima definitely gave Toriyama criticism and inspiration. The other side is the fans. We built and expanded Dragon Ball's world thanks to fan support. If the franchise grows by listening to fans, that's great. But if the goal is to grow it just for money, then everything will collapse. I hope it doesn't go in that direction. Well, unfortunately now, I feel like it's already in that direction, but part of me thinks that might not be the case, because if it was in that direction, don't you think that Toei would be milking it? There's two ways to look at this. They're either trying to make money, and some people have said that they're money hungry, and others have said they don't really care that much about money. So again, you're dealing with a Japanese company, Japanese culture, which is older men. The Shueisha top guys are all old guys. And I mean old, like some of them are in their 60s. Some of them are even older than that. So you're dealing with an antiquated company. Now, what about Toyotaro? So there were rumors about Toyotaro having another manga he's working on, and there is a side project that Toyotaro is working on. I want to give credit to Vaughn. Vaughn DBZ was the one that was getting all this information from Japan, and he was the one that found the QR code. So shout outs to Vaughn. Thank you for that. Enomis, this is I want to thank Enomis too for doing the translations of what Toyotaro said, where he said again, it's not impossible to continue, but very hard. So we now know, based on reports that have come out, that Toyotaro's putting out a one-shot manga. Now, we don't know if it's going to be in V-Jump. We don't know if it's going to be in it's like it's just a solo, like, one-shot volume. But it says here it's 45 pages. It's just one. You can actually read it. So I'm not sure if it'll even get finished at this point. Like, I think you can read. They're all drafts. So you can actually read them, but they're in Japanese. I think they're in Japanese. Let me see. Have they been translated? I can check. Lost Samurai. Okay, somebody did translate them. Okay, this is the draft for I know it does not look very good, but this has nothing to do with Dragon Ball. This is a one shot. It's just 45 pages. It's not a continuing series. Toyotaro has been working on this for quite some time because he's probably waiting for Shueisha to call him about doing Super. He's probably waiting, and if this is your job, is to write manga, what are you going to do? Just sit around and not work for a year? I mean, he did not work for almost a year. I mean, he did put that one shot together, the super hero one with Clean God. But this Lost Samurai, I have not checked it out for myself, so I can't give you an opinion on it. But this is kind of what Toyotaro's been doing for fun. So that's, again, this has nothing to do with Dragon Ball. It's just something he's been working on the side. So I wish there was more to report, but there's a ton more out there. Also, Piccolo de Mayonnaise revealed in his translations. Shout out to Piccolo de Mayonnaise that Toriyama really loved granola because Toriyama and Toyotaro's happy about that because Toriyama didn't make any adjustments. He was like, "That's it, perfect." And Toyotaro's the one that created Black Frieza. Toyotaro is the one who created Black Frieza. And then he goes on to say that when Toriyama died, he was a little bit lost and didn't know what to do, which, I mean, that makes sense, man. You're just, what do you do? This guy you've been working with for almost 10 years, man. Super Manga started in 2015. And he says that even though I was close to them, I felt like one among millions of fans. Well, he grew up a fan of the original manga and the anime, so he is one of us. And also, he does say here, and this is my favorite thing that he says. This will be the last thing before I close out. He says, Dragon Ball for me is the #1 manga in the world. I don't think Dragon Ball should end. So he doesn't want it to end either, bro. That's what I'm saying. He wants to do it. It's Shueisha that's stopping him. If you want to be mad at someone, be mad at those fossils at Shueisha and Toei. Like, I hate those companies, man. Like, come on. He says, I'm not alone in working on it. It's the strength of the fans around the world that allows this work to continue. As a manga artist, what I would like in the future is to continue evolving and always improve, to have multiple approaches to create funnier manga and to improve my drawing and storytelling skills. That's my goal. So I do respect him. There's a picture of him in case you haven't seen what he looks like. This is a recent picture of him. I do have a ton of respect for Toyotaro for saying that. Like, he wants to improve. I respect that. We should all respect that. I also like his shirt, bro. Anyways, that's it. That is my full report on the Toyotaro stuff. If you want to read the full interviews, I'll link them down in the description. There's a ton of stuff for you to look at if you want more. I just kind of gave you what I felt was the most important bits of news and information. So, with that being said, continue to take care of yourself and each other. Love each other, man. I think we need to be better to each other, yo. I've been thinking about this a lot. We need to be nicer to each other. Even I need to work on that too. So, kindness goes a long way. Have a good one.